Welcome to Informed Sources on News Channel 3, where we talk about the week's big stories with local voices. I'm your host, Stephanie Skurlock. Thanks for joining us. Greg is off this week. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight, including the highly anticipated return of Memphis in May. The Beale Street Music Festival has brought thousands to the city this weekend. We'll talk about security measures and how the festival is settling into its temporary home at the fairgrounds. We'll also talk about COVID-19. This week, Dr. Anthony Fauci said the U.S. is currently out of the pandemic phase. How will it stay that way? We'll ask one of our experts, Dr. Stephen Threlkeld from Baptist Memorial Hospital. And later, a closer look at Tennessee's new law targeting renters who are trying to stop their evictions. It requires families to put up a year's worth of rent when they try to appeal an eviction, even if they were up to date on their rent. Dorcas Young-Griffin from Shelby County's Division of Community Services will weigh in on that, on the new law and its impact. All right, let's kick things off tonight with our hot topic, the return of Memphis in May and the Beale Street Music Festival. This year is going to be quite different, with everything taking place at Liberty Park and the Memphis Fairgrounds instead of the usual Tom Lee Park, which is undergoing now a massive makeover, with thousands of people in Memphis for all the music and fun. Festival organizers and police are doing everything they can to make sure it's a safe experience. For its part, Memphis police have come up with a plan 100 pages long, full of safety strategies.
In this plan, which is a comprehensive approach to protecting life, property, preventing disruptions of the entertainment.
In addition to the 150 police officers set to patrol the festival, security will be provided at parking lots. MATA will also be providing extra service to help shuttle festival goers to the area. And we're joined now by Randy Blevins. He's the Vice President of Marketing and Programming for Memphis in May. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today, Randy.
Great to be here, Stephanie. Thank you.
Well, we know this is an extremely busy time for you. What can festival goers expect with this new temporary location out at Liberty Park?
Well, festival goers will be able to experience the same Beale Street Music Festival that they see and experience when we were in Tom Lee Park. It's just in a different location this time, and the configuration is slightly different. In Tom Lee Park, all three of the stages went from north to south, and we walked by them. Here in Liberty Park at the fairgrounds, it's two of the main stages have the Liberty Bowl behind them, and then the third main stage has Parkway behind them. So it makes like a triangle, like a triangle with Tiger Lane, Music Row right down the middle.
Well, Memphis police tell us that they've got a 100-page security strategy plan in place to keep everyone safe out there. Were you all in on that plan, and what do you have to say about it?
Sure. We work closely with the Memphis Police Department, with Shelby County Sheriff. We work closely with all the proper authorities and have for years. Because of the nature of the size of the events we produce, it's important that we work in lockstep and cooperate with all the law enforcement officials. We have an excellent working relationship. MPD is fantastic to deal with, and we've been working with them as we would have here, same as we would have in Tom Lee Park. And we're confident that we have a plan together working with MPD that will help keep our patrons safe so they can come to the event, enjoy themselves, and return home in a safe and enjoyable manner.
All right, everyone wants that. And, you know, Memphis in May, the Beale Street Music Festival has been missing for so many years, so we're all glad to see it back. What would you say has been the biggest challenge in putting it on? Has it been how COVID has affected maybe some of the acts? Because some have had to reschedule and change their plans as late as today.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. You know, you're still seeing the effects of COVID affecting the lineup in some cases. Also, frankly, you know, getting our system back up and running again. 2019 was the last time that we were contacting a lot of our vendors, and we're dusting off the tools and building again. So there's a little bit of rustiness when we start going, but the old muscle memory kicks in, and we've finished out building what I think is going to be a fantastic site for the Beale Street Music Festival this weekend, and it's looking really, really nice out there.
All right. Well, we hope it's Nice, and I think the fans are expecting that. Are you expecting to be there very long at this temporary location? And are you concerned that when you do return, or if you do return to Tumley Park, it will not be able to accommodate the festival the way it will be reshaped?
Well, our plans are only to be in the fairgrounds at Liberty Park for this year only. Mayor Strickland has promised that we would return to our home in Tumley Park next year, and that is our plan.
All right. Well, we hope it's a big success. We look forward to Barbecue Fest, and then I think you have a big gala coming up as well.
We have a salute to Ghana next week with the gala on Friday. We have a fashion show, the Fashions of Ghana, on Saturday, May 7th, out at the Hilton, and a lot of exhibits going up around town for our Country of Honor. And then the last event of our month, of course, we end with the Great American River Run, which actually is still held downtown, starting on Beale Street, on Memorial Day weekend.
Well, I'm sure the businesses downtown will look forward to having at least some of the festival downtown this year.
Right. Sure. We want to spread the joy of Memphis in May and the economic benefit around as much of Memphis as possible.
All right. Thank you so much. Randy Blevins with Memphis in May, Community and Marketing Manager and VP with the organization. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Stephanie.
All right. Well, when we come back, tracking the coronavirus, one of the nation's leading health experts says the country is now out of the pandemic phase. We'll have reaction from one of our local experts coming up next on Informed Sources.